All right. It's another episode of Remodelers on the Rise. Wow. Thank you, everybody. I wasn't expecting that, but people are excited. Very respectfully clapping because they're excited for another episode today. And the top for today is one piece of advice. If you have a piece of content that you use to promote your remodeling business, and every time you post it, it does pretty well. It gets some good engagement. It gets some good feedback, some comments. You do realize that this is not a piece of content that you should just publish one time, but rather is a piece of content that you should publish every so often. Sometimes that means every 3 months. Sometimes that means every 6 months. Think about content that you've created, maybe your best 5, best 8 posts, and reuse it often. So there's a piece of advice as we get started today. And the reason I brought that up is because I have a piece of content that when I post it on the Remodelers community private Facebook group, which you can access at remodelerscommunity.com, every time it performs wonderfully. And it is a very short post, and it says this: give me a piece of advice for running a successful remodeling business. And I put it out there maybe 3 times a year. And every time there's just a flood of thoughtful, good, strategic advice that comes through. And I thought, you know what I'll do today? I'm going to go through that list and some of the things that people mentioned, and I'm going to talk about them, expand on them a little bit. We did a little 5P, proper preparation prevents poor performance, which, hold that thought. 1 second. This is the mug that says 5P on it. If you send me a text or an email, my cell phone number is 517-902-8450. My email is kyle@remodelyourmarketing.com. If you text or email me with something that you've heard on this show or something that you've seen in content that I put out there or on the Remodelers community group from others, if you shoot me a note with something that you've heard and implemented that's had a positive effect on your business, if you send me that, I'm going to send you a mug free of charge. First 3 people that text or email me the little story around that. Okay, well, that's fun. All right, so that was the question. And we're just going to jump right into it and go through some of the feedback that people gave to this question of give me a piece of advice for running a successful remodeling business. So Wendell McGinnis, he wrote, if you get a gut feeling about a customer, don't ignore it. And shortly thereafter, Paul Johnson wrote, if you get a check in your gut, get that feeling in your gut about a potential client, go with that. You'll be glad to never know how bad it could have been. All of us have been there. You guys have been there. And this reminder of running a successful remodeling business from Wendell and Paul here is over the years and over your experiences and by listening to your clients and what they say and how they say it, your gut becomes trained. You know when a client is ideal and you guys are in lockstep and in harmony with it. These are my people. These are the types of clients that we strive for and that we work well with. And there's other clients that give you all of these warning signs, all of these sometimes yellow flags like, pay attention, and sometimes just flat out red flags, run away. And it is hard to turn down work. It is a delicate process to make sure that you turn down opportunities professionally. But if there's ever a time in your career that we should be actively turning down work, it's now, when opportunity is abounding. And even when things aren't lining up well with your projects, or you might need to take that project, that starts in 2 months, you need to be disciplined and turn that project down because it's not going to get better. A client that is not going well in the design and planning stages does not magically get better once construction starts and dust starts flying. They get worse. So that's some advice from Wendell and Paul. If you get a gut feeling about a customer, don't ignore it. For those of you watching live, I'd love some just live comments on your thoughts on some of these. The next one comes up from my friend and yours, Vicky Suter. She wrote, plan for the profits you want. Ooh, hang on one second. I know this is not professional, but when I get moved to do it, I just mug of that. I received that mug from Vicky Suter Business Builders, along with some high quality pens from Vicky. Thanks, Vicky, for sending that to me. Okay, that's all I just want. It's just show and tell. Sometimes it's fun to do show and tell. Now, those of you watching on the podcast, that was not very interesting, but the first one was, because you could text or email me and be one of the first 3, and you go and get a mug. Vicky said, plan for the profits you want. Don't wait for it to show up. Make an operating budget and track your results monthly. Now, here's what you guys have to understand is Vicky Suter has been a successful coach and consultant in our industry for a few decades. She has worked successfully with dozens and dozens and dozens of remodelers and contractors. This is the advice she's giving. It carries weight. It should get your attention. Plan for the profits you want. Make an operating budget and track your results monthly. At the start of the year, create a business budget. Go line by line through all of your overhead expenses. How much are you going to budget and spend on marketing and advertising? How much is your insurance going to be? How much is your training going to be? How much is this? Get clear with that. Go up to the top and figure out, what does my revenue need to be in order to hit those numbers? What has my cost of goods sold percentage been the last several years? What percent has that been? And what do I think my percentage of cost of goods sold is going to be this year? Have I had a lot of slippage and grippage? There's a lot of things to grapple with and to understand about your numbers, but we want to show our total sales goal, our expected cost of goods sold, which gives us our expected gross profit. Subtract out of that all of your overhead expenses. Your salary should be in there. And then you have our net profit. Plan for that. Not because everything's going to work out perfect, but when we plan and when we track it and we measure it, it's going to be better. So that is a piece of advice from Vicky about running a successful remodeling business. Ooh, that was a little loud. Mike commented up from is it Great White North? Great White North is Canada. What do we call Alaska? Mike's up there in Alaska. I'm with Wendell and Paul about bailing when you see a red flag. It requires discipline. It requires some trust and faith that something better is going to come along on the project front. It is a hard conversation to have when you have to say, it's just me, it's not you. We've looked at this project and it's just not a good fit for us. It's a delicate thing that you need to practice how you say it, but it is incredibly important to do that. Studies have shown, I've been using this joke lately, studies have shown that 100% of the time you turn down a bad client, 100% of the time you are happier as a result. It's not a very scientific study, but it is a true study. Scott says, charge for estimates. I picked that one. There's 30, and I gathered through and picked 12 or 15 of them. All of them were great, by the way, but time is of the essence. We got 30 minutes for the Remodelers on the Rise live show. And I pulled this one out because I wanted to actually nitpick it a little bit. I know what Scott is saying. Charge for estimates. I would argue that you actually can offer free estimates. Wait a minute, Kyle. I thought you were really a big proponent of charging for design and project development. What do you mean offering free estimates? Isn't that a waste of time? Don't we have to protect our time? That word estimate is what gets me. You can offer a free estimate. What you can offer for free, you cannot offer for free, is design and a detailed proposal with a fixed price. Two totally different things. We need to spread out those two things. There needs to be a big difference between a free estimate and a detailed design, detailed project developments, and a guaranteed budget. Stretch those out. The free estimate is based on the project you're talking about that I'm looking at here, that I've seen pictures of, the ideas that you're talking about, based on my years of experience and projects that we've done that are in similar size and scope. Your project's going to range anywhere from $150,000 to $110,000. There's your free estimate. Big range, give a big range. Start with that higher number first. Try that out, by the way. See what the reaction is. Wait a minute. Did you say the higher number first? Yes, I said the higher number first because my experience has shown me that as my clients start to select things and finalize decisions, they usually end up at the higher end range of the budget. Yeah, did I do that backwards? No, that's right. Yeah, start with the 150. It didn't sound right when I said it, but yes, try that out. And just separate that out. So yes, large this object in an incredible way to protect your time, to increase your closing percentage, to set up projects so that they're more detailed and thought out and selections are made, which has a ripple effect, which makes the production side go so much smoother. So absolutely, Scott, I just wanted to pick on that word estimate. Free estimate, not a free detailed design and project development. Mike says the last frontier. This goes back to, what do we call Alaska? We call it the last frontier. What's the temperature up there in Alaska today, Mike? It's August. I think we think like it's always freezing up there, but I bet you it's pretty nice there. If I may, I just want to plug something that's coming up. On September 29th and 30th, up here in beautiful Ann Arbor, Michigan, I'm doing a 2-day in-person live event called Batting Practice for Remodelers. Fired up about it. Even so far, even in this little thing, we just practiced how to, I did it very quickly, but how to turn down a bad lead. What a good thing to practice. How do other people do that? What are the phrasing they use? Be something we touch on. Another thing we mentioned was batting practice and practicing how we explain the difference between charging for design and project development versus free estimates. How do others explain that? How can we practice that? We're going to be getting into through 9 innings. Top half of the inning, I'll be teaching. The bottom half of the inning, we're going to be doing batting practice with the participants. And it's going to be a lot of fun. remodelyourmarketing.com/batting practice. Got about 10 signed up already. We are still in the early bird stage of things and love to have you. That's the end of the commercial. Next one up. Vaughn said, surround yourself with great people. Surround yourself with great people. It was interesting. This really struck me when I was several years into business. And as I was getting to know my remodeling clients, I was starting to really piece together, why are they really kicking butt and taking names? Why is this person struggling? Why, I was just watching and getting more and more examples of what's working, what's not. And it really clicked for me that, wow, yes, systems are important. Yes, the owner's, smarts, intelligent, hustle, and sales acumen and marketing acumen, all of that's important. Certainly the finished product and the customer experience is important. But wow, arguably the biggest component of a successful remodeling business is having a strong team, is having great people. Checklists and systems and processes that we labor over and try to fix, they're important, but they're less required when you've got a great team because they're already just doing it. Or having a checklist that you create and then you go back to the drawing board. Well, this isn't working. I need to change the way I do this, and we're missing this. You create a checklist one time when you have a stinking great team. They work to improve it. They work to refine it, and they implement it consistently. There's so many things that when you surround yourself with great people, it just fixes so many little issues in the business. You have to look at your team and see if you have, and if you're carrying around some C, maybe even D players. It is hard to find good people, but it's not impossible. And when you're able to replace that C person with a solid B level person, let alone with an A player, your overall business is going to become stronger and more successful. So you got to keep thinking about, how do I surround myself with great people? How do I make this a really awesome place to work where people will actually want to leave their current job and move over to our team? How do I make this a wonderful experience for the team I already have so that our reputation starts to get out there to potential employees and they say, man, it'd be great to work for you. Oddfellows Contracting, one of my clients here in Michigan, has experienced that. Brett, the owner, started really taking seriously, how do I make this an amazing place to work? And he started putting more resources towards that, more money towards that. And over time, the recruiting, yes, he still has job postings, etc. But so many of his new employees, great employees, have come through because they heard one of the Oddfellows contracting employees just raving about working there when they were at the lumberyard. Word got around from this buddy to this buddy that this is a great place to work. It's just a great place to work. And that gets around. Surround yourself with great people. It's incredibly important. It's 53 degrees up there in Alaska. It's also like 4 hours or something behind. So that's pretty warm for first thing in the morning. Bet you ain't gonna be 53 in about 4 months. All right. Next one up, Laurel Winkle. She had a similar thought, but she added a few things. Hire the best people you can find. Be willing to pay them well. The pay scales have gone up in the last 1-2 years. And what does that look like? I would love for each of you to kind of have a moment where you kind of put your hand on your chin like this, you kind of turn around in your chair, you look out the window a little bit, and you kind of contemplate, how can I treat my team even better? Like, is it taking them dinner, or taking them lunch on a Friday? Is it doing more one-on-one meetings with them? Is there a benefit that I can add that would really excite them? There's another post I'd made the other day, which was, what is the benefit that you offer your team that they really love? I heard about people paying for Costco memberships, some different benefits related to reward points, 401k matches, all kinds of things. Think about how you can treat them well. And sometimes it's the little things that don't cost a lot that really matter. The other thing she wrote was, have excellent relationships with trade partners. And then she used this little phrase, a little catchy one: teamwork makes the dream work. If you know Laurel, it wouldn't surprise you that she uses a fun little phrase like that. She's pretty upbeat and fun. Actually, she signed an email the other day, L-Dub. I can now officially, we have gotten to the point in our coaching and relationship where I can just refer to her as L-Dub. That's fun. Excellent. The one other one I'll just hit on, because all that advice is pretty straightforward, but have excellent relationships with trade partners. I don't know if Audra is watching this, but I had this conversation with her. She's down in Florida. We're doing some one-on-one work together. And one thing that's become clear as I've really gotten to know her business is a huge reason that she is having less stress these days, that things are going smoother, is she has developed tremendous relationships with 5 or 6 very key trade partners. And it just occurred to me, it just happened naturally for her. She just naturally knows how to yes, pay them on time, pay them well, to show her thanks and appreciation. 1,000 little things is why she has great relationships with them. But it is such a huge key to her projects going smoothly, her client experience to be going well, and her stress level not to be elevating but decreasing. So it's similar to find great people around you. That can be employees. That can also be trade partners like Laurel mentioned here. Cool. Next one. Rob Bauer said, without a vision of where you want to wind up, you won't make it. Something will steal your dream, but it's okay if your vision is not complete. Just adapt and maintain focus. It's okay if your vision is not complete. Just adapt and maintain focus. So this is a piece of advice that several people gave in so many words, which is, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, why did you start your business? Where are you heading? What is the vision for this business? What is it, right? That's a great question for me to ask. I've been piecing that together. I've been thinking about that. But when you have a clear vision of what you're trying to achieve and what this business looks like in the years ahead, you can extrapolate that back and start figuring out, what do I need to do now in order for that to look like that? What am I doing now that's preventing me from getting there? Is your dream, is your vision for your business for you not to be in the day in and day out of your business? Is the vision for your business just to be focused on sales and marketing and running your team and managing your team? Is it to continue to work out in the field but have everything else taken care of in your business? What is your vision? Could be related to revenue, could be related to the size of your team, could be a lot of different things. Without a vision of where you want to wind up, you won't make it. Something will steal and distract your dream. Let's be a little bit of dream makers. You remember when you started your business? I mean, before I started my business, and I think this happens for everybody, of course I thought about why I'm doing it and what I want this to look like. And that changes as you go. You need to continually reevaluate this. It helps you strategically make decisions, and it helps you keep fired up and going when you have a destination you're going for. So that's good advice from Rob. One other thing I'll mention, I won't name names or I won't mention it too much, but it's super interesting. If you guys follow my content or if you're on my Facebook group, some of you are in Rob's Facebook group, and Rob posts these things called sawdust. just little nuggets of knowledge that he has accumulated in his decades of doing what he does. And it's super interesting because he posted on various places and whatnot. And he posted on one place and it just gets some feedback of like, oh, tell me more about that. Or how did you do this? Or, wow, that's a good idea. That's something I should consider. And then it gets posted to other places and it just gets made fun of. That's not realistic. That's dumb. What kind of idea is that? And it just pops out at me of going, if you're watching this, if you're part of Facebook groups, like, why are you there if not to try to learn and improve? If you think for 2 seconds and you have to know Rob a little bit or take him up on a stinking free callers and his is it Remodel it, on Tuesdays, you would learn very quickly that this man's got a lot of wisdom, that there's a lot of hard-earned knowledge here. Man, there's so many mentors, there's so many resources, there's so many podcasts, there's so much content that you're tripping over it for ways that you can improve and that you can get better. If you're finding yourself always kind of nitpicking somebody's idea, we should evaluate that a little bit. Why am I nitpicking this? Why am I not trying to find some value in this and figure out how I can apply it to my life or my business? So just keep that in mind. It's an observation that's been a little annoying when I'm watching Rob post that. Mike says, you will be lost as a remodeler without vision. You'll be unfocused and all over the place with the work you are doing. That trickles down into your employees as well. It took me 5 years to realize I didn't have a vision. Yeah, I think when I say, what's your vision for your business? And when there's kind of like a, never really thought about that. That's not a good thing. And it can be very beneficial to consider that, to give yourself a little bit of a dream, a vision of where you're going. And then let's make the plan on how to get there. Especially in the reason that we end up getting away from our vision or that we don't have it is because we're stinking busy. We're so busy doing the work and making things happen. I got to return this call. I got to do this. I got to follow with this person. I got to complete this estimate. This material got delayed. I got to deal with this employee issue. I got to deal with this trade partner issue. I could keep talking a million miles an hour and give 8 different more examples of why you don't have a vision or a dream for your business. You need to take a break. You need to take a breath. And you need to think strategically about your business. Where are you going and why? And regroup. Okay. What we're doing here today is going through some examples and some advice that people have related to this question or this statement. Give me a piece of advice for running a successful remodeling business. We've covered a lot so far. Let me go through a few more. Dave Pollard said, invest in marketing early. Invest in marketing early. A lot of times when we got a business going, we get some word of mouth going, and that's good. But are you building a brand? Are you building a following? Are you making sure that your marketing plan is multifaceted? This is a very interesting topic for right now, because right now, as of 12/24 on August 24th, 2021, there's not a lot of you who are desperate for leads, who are looking for more and more leads. We are in a time right now where we've had pretty consistent lead generation and opportunity. Do you remember 2009, 10, 11? Do you remember when COVID started and the phones shut down for multiple months? Do we know what's coming up in 2022? If the last few years we've lived through is any indication, one thing we know is that we have no idea what to expect. Smart business owners are marketing when they don't need to be marketing because they know it's wise. They know it's planting seeds that they're going to harvest later on. They know it's an opportunity to try different marketing approaches to see if to refine and improve and make it produce leads. One thing that you certainly could be doing, you see that little banner down at the bottom, it says generate more repeat and referral work. Remodelers Autopilot, you can try that for $1. Speaking of marketing, if you're not staying in touch with your previous clients, arguably your most valuable marketing asset, if you did a project with them 2 years ago and they haven't heard from you at all in 2 years, that's not smart. Invest in your marketing. RemodelersAutopilot.com. Okay. That's a good one. It could be that. It could be professional videos. It could be investing in relationships with strategic partners. It could be investing in your website and your search engine optimization so that you go from the second page on kitchen remodeling, your city, name, state, and get up to the top page. There's a lot of different ways that you can market, but what he said there, invest in marketing early. Justin Kolich had a few. Kolich, either way. He wouldn't mind. He's a nice guy. He'd be like, you can call me either one, Kyle. He had a few good ideas. I just grabbed a few of them. Track everything. Having real and accurate job cost reports so you know what it costs you to do a project is worth its weight in gold. Another one he shared was always be learning. Always be learning. But track everything. What gets measured gets improved. And if you followed me for 2 minutes, you've probably heard me say the words job costing. It should give you pause. Why is Kyle always talking about job costing? Why is he saying it's so important? Why is he always talking about expected versus actual gross profit? Why is he doing that? Because it's really, really important. It's what Justin's hitting on here. The closer you watch your job costing, the more profitable you are. You're already estimating the job. You already have an expected gross profit on the project. You're doing the job. You already have a cost for your materials and your trade partners and your employees. Aren't you desperate to know how close that is? Aren't you desperate to know where your slippage is, where you're making less what you're expecting, where you're making more than what you're expecting? Isn't it going to make you such a tremendously more better, I was about to say, a stronger estimator if you actually knew what the results was? I'm like, man, I was 8 hours under on that. And that wasn't because my team was working slow. It's because I estimated that terribly. And you make a note of that and you actually improve it for next time. That one intrigues me super. Like actually tracking your job costing, realizing I always put 10 hours in for that phase of demo. And now that I'm actually watching and tracking this, it always takes us 15. And now I'm going to up it to 15. And I'm going to add those 5 hours, not only for the next project, for all projects indefinitely in the future. That fix on your job costing is going to make you tens of thousands of dollars over the next decade and a half. You have to want to understand your job costing and then wrangle those numbers, get them there, and spend the time paying attention to them. Please. That was a good one, Justin. That was a good topic. Thank you. Audra says, answer your phone. One of the benefits in our industry is like being one level above sucky helps us, is like a differentiator, especially now. Like people, oh, you answered your phone, or I left a message for you and you called me quickly, or I filled out your website form and you called me like 2 hours later. What an incredibly strong way to start the experience. Or a client that's in production. It's hard to answer your phone. It's hard to do that. But if you put a focus and some energy behind excellent, exceptional communication, it goes a long, long ways. This person, if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can approve for me to see your picture. But this person said, tracking is one of my weaknesses. My response to that is, okay, good. Identifying the problem is huge. And then my next unkind, direct way of putting it is, what are you going to do about it? Is tracking being one of your weaknesses going to be your weakness on August 24th, 2022? That's my question. Or are you going to do something between now and a year from now where you're going to turn that weakness into one of your strengths? It's not impossible. It's doable. And whoever wrote that, I'll check afterwards because I can see it. Do it. Let's get rid of that weakness. That doesn't have to be a weakness. You have a weakness, if you're talking about job costing, you have a weakness on arguably the most important part of your business, job costing, and knowing those numbers, expected versus actual. That should get your attention. That should spur you. Why are you watching this, by the way, whoever that is? It'll be fun to see who this is because I'm being direct. Why are you watching this? Why are you investing time in this? Because you want to improve. I passionately talked about it. You had a colleague in Justin who gave the idea and seeded that idea of it's extremely important to have accurate job cost reports. The next question should be, all right, I'm kind of fired up now. I'm going to set a goal. And then, okay, what do I need to do? Here's what I need to do. And you get specific. In your case, you might not have your labor hours for your team in the field actually being applied to a specific project. Or you may have that done, but you're not having them break down so that you can see when they're doing drywall or demo or trim so that you can compare that to your estimate. Whatever that next step is, figure it out and attack it with enthusiasm unknown to mankind. All right. Andy has a similar thought. Andy Schaefer, know your numbers. Accurate job cost reports are a must. 11 years later, and we still aren't quite dialed in, but we're getting very close. That's one of the fun parts about business is it's never-ending improvement, but you are night and day different. Andy, you're still seeing how you want to get a little bit quicker data, easier data, but you are night and day better than where you were. Keep it up. And what is he saying? A piece of advice for remodeling business, know your numbers, accurate job costing. Luis said, document everything. If you're going to do the steps involved in getting a permit, of the onboarding of a new client, of the final wrap and closeout of a project, if you're going to do that once, and you're going to do that again and again and again, you ought to write out the steps. When you write out the steps, one, even if you're a solopreneur on your own, it makes it easier for you not to forget something. And certainly when you write out the steps, you get them out of your head, and you could also hand that off so much easier to somebody on your team. So document everything. It's wonderful. Okay. Well, folks, that is the Remodelers on the Rise live show for today. If I may, let me just breeze through a few. If you get a gut feeling about a customer or client, don't ignore it. Turn down bad opportunities. Create an operating budget. Plan for your profits. Charge for estimates, or give free estimates and charge for detailed design and project development. Go to remodelyourmarketing.com. November 29th and 30th. Surround yourself with great people. Hire the best people you can. Have a vision, have a dream of where you're going. You'll achieve a lot more as a result. Invest in marketing early. Track everything. Job costing, job costing, job costing. Always be learning. Answer your phone. Know your numbers. Bam. There's a recap of today's show. In addition to knowing your numbers is updating clients that if they make a decision that changes the bottom line, inform them immediately and track this change. If you are not being proactive with change orders, you are losing money. Think of it this way. Because you didn't communicate that clearly or have the guts to say, Mr. and Ms. Homeowner, this is outside the scope of work and this is going to be a change order. Pretend that money are actual $20 bills and say, okay, instead of me having a clear conversation and being totally in the right that this is a change order and charging them and having that conversation and having them sign it, instead, I'm going to take these $15, $20 bills and I'm going to take a match and I'm going to burn them. I'm going to burn this $300 like it never was a thing. When you actually see the money and feel the money, it's stupid not to charge for change orders that you are perfectly within reason to do. That's slippage. That's slippage. When you start watching your job costing, all of a sudden you're going to care a lot more about that. So get into your job costing, and yes, Mike, get those change orders written up. My friends, I will talk to you next time, which will be Thursday.